And the whole section in Connecticut when they're driving, when he pulls her out of the car, and then it gets just obscene and horrific, but it's one of the most amazing sections of the book. And Meryl and I kept saying, is there some way we can shoot this? And Alan said, I would love to, if I thought we possibly could, and do it justice without it being just stomach-turning repellent to an audience.
But it certainly is in a couple of my early drafts. And I like the sequence a lot. It was too much away from Stingo at that point. And the balancing act of keeping the audience focused on the story was falling apart.
He has no degree of any kind. All that is a simple fabrication. The truth is, he's quite mad.
Christ. He's completely fooled everyone. He has all these secrets. You don't know until after that scene. And then you cut to the next scene and he's dressed up like Rhett Butler and you see, of course, he's nuts.
The future Mrs. Landau, care to give me the honor of this dance?
There had to be something joyous and elegant, but also it is the swan song. It is his last desperate gasp at survival.
And Stingo's dream is helping Sophie hold on to life and saving her from death.
That's what makes it tragic, is because you think maybe, if she'd just pull herself together, go with Stingo to this farm, there's hope, there's love, there's life. And if you didn't feel that from her, then there really isn't any point to making a story about these characters.
You should have another mother for your children.
Only you.
It would not be fair to your children to have me as a mother.
Sophie, they would be the luckiest children in the world.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something now I have never told anybody.
I couldn't even read that scene, the scene of the choice. I read it once when we got the script, and I never read it again because I couldn't stand it. And I think I didn't do that because I was Sophie. I was in denial, and I knew it was coming. I knew it was back there as Sophie, and it was something I never wanted to look at. It was all those images that we've seen in still black and white pictures, but to be living it and walking it and carrying a child, it was terrifying. You never knew where you were supposed to be when, and suddenly here he comes.
Du kannst eins von den Kindern behalten.
With this preposterous sort of choice.
Wie bitte?
I thought I was screaming. I thought I was screaming as loud as I could. It was like being in a dream. And you realize that no sound is coming out later, but you really think you're screaming.
When you choose between the impossible and the unacceptable, you're making not a choice between two goods or the lesser of two evils, but between an evil of awesome magnitude on the one hand and an evil of awesome magnitude on the other hand. You face literally a choiceless choice.
She was finally realizing that death was around the corner in the form of Nathan, being her avenger and being her instrument of doom. She knew very well at the moment that she was having sex with Stingo, that within 24 hours she would be back in another bed with Nathan, and that death would be her answer.
She loved Stingo, but it's a goodbye kiss. She takes it as the last memory of what being attached to life is. She's got it in her mind where she's going, and it's not to the farm.
The love scene was kind of lyrical almost and beautiful instead of being animal-like as it is in the book.
I had to be graphically descriptive about his sexual experience, because this, after all, was the fantasy that he had held in his heart and mind so long. When she got back to Brooklyn, she was as much a instigator of the suicide as Nathan was. They were both joined in this mutual need to die.
You see that she has tried to commit suicide before. Her one hope, she was on the verge of dying, was Nathan who saved her. Love is the one thing that brought her to life. And she feels that the only thing that makes her life worthwhile is this man. And life holds nothing but disaster for him and further humiliation. And at least he will not die alone. And she will not die alone.
It was an act of integrity. It was the only way she could come to terms with who she had been and what she had gone through.
The image to me was, in some way in death, that love survived. And at least they die as lovers. And that's some kind of triumph.
Wanted to have several lines that Stingo would deliver as a kind of a eulogy. And I remembered that when he first encountered Sophie and Nathan, they were upstairs lovemaking in bed. And this was their first encounter, and the bed being somehow the symbol for the whole thing. And it occurred to me that a poem I remembered from Emily Dickinson would fill the bill. Ample make this bed with awe. In it wait till judgment break, excellent and fair. When Stingo is lying on the beach after his profound seizure of mourning for Sophie and Nathan at the very end of the book, lying on the beach at Coney Island, and wakes after this night of nightmares, covered by sand, which the little children have poured over him. He says, "'Neath cold sand I dreamed of death, but woke at dawn to see in glory the morning star." That seemed to me to sum up what I had to say about resurrection. From the all-encompassing shroud of death, which Auschwitz represented for everybody in the book, except for Stingo, who ends up being a survivor.
The picture also ends on rebirth and resurrection. And that last shot of her there that hangs forever. And the two lovers in their arms, like a painting. In the costumes where they were their happiest. So it does end with rebirth to me, not just with death.
The story is awful, but the filming of it, because it was so of a piece and so deeply understood by all of us making it, that it was great, not repeatable.
Part of what the artist does is to push the extreme, not as distinct from the mainstream, but as an exemplar. As it were, as a mirror that holds up what is there in the mainstream. And therefore there is the capacity within all of us to go in that dimension, to go in that direction. And in that sense, that was what the Holocaust represented.
I think that the line at the end of the book, which is not a statement so much as an answer to a question, is the guiding symbol of the book, the question being, at Auschwitz, tell me, where was God? And the answer, where was man?